I was homeless as a child. My mother was very abusive to me as a child. So I became homeless at the age of 10 years old because I had to live outside where it was safer than being inside my house. Right?
I became homeless on March 9th when my house caught fire and burned down. I lost everything I owned. And so we decided to go camping. We drove across the United States, me and my dog, and came back here when the funds ran out and slept in the car until this place came about.
My mom passed away in September 24th of 2018, and we were in the process of being evicted at the time. And I ended up being escorted out of the house or apartment on November 2nd of 18, and I've been on the streets ever since.
I took care of my mom for 4 years. She died, I can go back. Too many memories. I've been homeless for 2 years now.
So there are a lot of factors that drive homelessness in Skagit County, and in our area, homelessness is a really complex societal issue, and I think we often tend to focus on the societal side of that, so looking at key drivers like drug and alcohol issues or mental health. But regionally, when you look at the causes of homelessness, a lot of it is tied back to a lack of housing that people with lower incomes can afford.
A large population is the elderly over the age of 60 that are in fixed incomes and can't afford to rent anything in today's housing environment. There's a lack of housing and there's a lack of affordable housing.
My name is Wade Colbeck, and I generally just try to find some place out of the way. I take home right around $1,000 a month, and that's just doesn't seem to be enough for an apartment, unless I could find something, housing of some sort that's compatible, like 400, 500, something like that, so it doesn't take all my money.
Being homeless has a lot of effects on people, both with their mental health. It's very traumatic. They're a lot more likely to be the victim of a crime. They're vulnerable to the elements. Their belongings get stolen. Their medications that they need get stolen. We know of a lot of homeless people who have cancer, diabetes, are on oxygen, and it's really hard to manage those health conditions when you don't have a warm bed or a place to store your medication and that kind of thing.
At the beginning, it was like being dropped on the dark side of Wonderland. I mean, I got a rude awakening. I mean, I had what I called willful blindness. I knew homelessness, existed in the county, but I didn't see it. I'd see the people on the street, and I believed the stereotypes about, drug and alcohol, and that's why everyone's on the homeless and blah, 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 blah. And then I landed right in the middle of it, and I'm like, okay, this isn't what I was told growing up.
The First Step Center is a first of its kind in Skagit County low barrier shelter for our houseless neighbors. It provides cabins, is what we're calling them, which is small living quarters, and wraparound services. We are providing mental health, addiction, as well as job placement and any other services that we can come up with. We'll be providing them with case management to figure out what their needs are individually and then connect them with the services that can help them.
I was the guy for a long time that was not in my city, not in our county, not here, not there, but sooner or later nothing gets done, and that's the easy thing, is to say no. And so when I saw this, realized this property could be utilized for this purpose, it just seemed like the natural fit. So that's how it kind of all culminated last year, actually.
Well, I've had people yell, "Get a job" from their cars when I flow in a sign. I've had people turn, just not even, they basically ignore me as a human. And it's like very few people will actually come out here and talk to us or talk to me. And when they do, they judge me for my past.
Every person who's experiencing homelessness has a unique story of their own. I think it's easy to generalize why people are homeless or why they can't get into housing, but I think it's pretty complicated, and there's a lot of reasons.
I'm a biker, tattoos, been to prison. So their perception of me is just from what they look at, what they've seen on TV, without spending any kind of time to talk to me to see if I can have an intelligent conversation with anybody.
A lot of people just can't believe that someone in as bad a shape as I'm in would be homeless, that, you know, they think someone would put them in some kind of housing situation, and that's just not the truth. There's at least 3 people I know on the street that are permanently in wheelchairs.
There's a lot of perception that people who are homeless travel around a lot and may come to Skagit County. If we build a shelter, it'll draw people into our county, but we know, through local data and national data that most people who are experiencing homelessness became homeless in the same community where they're at. And then we also know that people who are homeless aren't any more likely to commit crimes than people who have housing, with the exception of getting charges for things like trespassing or trying to find somewhere to sleep where people don't want them.
A lot of us are just people trying to survive. We fly a sign because we're hungry, not because we want to buy drugs, or we need gas, or whatever.
It's been overwhelmingly positive from the public's point of view. The number of donors that have private donors who have come forth and donated, tens of thousands of dollars to this already, just for the capital cost. It's been overwhelmingly positive that way.
I do think it's making a difference. We have had pretty much all of our residents here just express gratitude. This shelter, we just wanted it up just to get people off the streets. So there are a lot of things that we didn't think about, and some of those have come, they've asked us about it, like, oh, what about this, what about that? And we're like, oh, we didn't really think about that, but that's a good thought, and I definitely think it'll better the facility in the future, just kind of working out those kinks. But the residents are extremely grateful for the shelter opening when it did.
The people who were behind this, I want to thank them, because now I can get in touch with people who I need to get in touch with and see if I get a permanent place to stay.
It's making me learn that there's not all bad people in the world, because I've only known a lot of bad people. I'm also a domestic violence survivor. So, it's hard to trust people when you don't know where to turn, especially.
When somebody comes to the First Step Center and they receive services and case management, the idea is that we'll be able to move them into Friendship House core shelters or some other shelter service after the 90 days and elevate them to the next step, the next level, and ultimately back into the community as a thriving member.
I want to transition into some permanent housing, and they offered me a job. I filled out the application yesterday to work for the security company, so I'm hoping that pulls through, and then with that and my disability, I should be able to get a house and get out of this situation.
Be careful. It's so easy to become homeless. Just one paycheck, one getting laid off. It's real easy to become this way. You think I like dressing like this?
Don't judge a book by its cover. You know, if you can help these people, help us through resources or education or whatever it might be, then by all means do what you can to help people, because that's what we're about, right?
Just don't judge everybody. We're not all the same out here. Just come out and speak to one of us. Learn to come to us personally and not, oh, you're a drug addict or you're alcoholic because you're on the streets. We're not all the same.
We aren't here to rob you. A lot of us are just down and out. If you want to get rid of homeless people, you need to help homeless people. We're not gonna just disappear.
There's no one cause of homelessness, and there's no one solution to homelessness. We have people who suffered things in their childhood. We have people who have lost their jobs and just need a respite to get back on their feet. We have folks who have mental health issues. We have folks who have substance abuse issues, absolutely, or a combination of any of those. It's a very complex problem.
I think there's probably not one specific way forward. I think we need a supply of additional units kind of across the income spectrum, across what we call the housing continuum, everywhere from market rate units for purchase all the way down the income and service spectrum to housing that's available to people with lower or no income. And in order to make a difference in Skagit County, we're going to need additional housing stock across that spectrum.
That I can get off the streets, so I don't have to worry about my health problems causing me to end up dead somewhere in a ditch.